progress.
There it is. Scott Dixon will join us here momentarily, as will Marcus Armstrong. Leading off, though, and finishing second this afternoon, Marcus Ericsson in the 28 Delaware Life Honda for Andretti Global's best finish of the season, 11th career podium. Perhaps more importantly for you, big comeback after kind of a weird month of May in Indianapolis 500 for you.
It wasn't weird, it was terrible.
It was terrible, okay. You got a smile on your face, though. Nice comeback, huh?
Yeah, thank you. It was it was a really tough month of May, like you said, and we had a bit of a tough start. I think St. Pete and Long Beach, we showed that we were fast. We should have been top 5, top 6 in both those races. But yeah, going into this weekend after the month of May we had, it was really tough mentally. That month of May was draining because we had to work so hard and we got so little. But I think the whole group, the whole 28 group, was really come together well going into this weekend. We all talked together and said, let's press that big red button of reset and get our season, 2024 2.0 going. And that was the mindset going into this weekend. We had some issues in practice, but the car felt great all sessions really. I think qualifying was decent, and then I think today we showed in the race that we had the pace to fight up front all day. So really proud of the team. It was not an easy race, so everyone did good decisions and well deserved to be on the podium.
And right on time, also joined by the other Marcus on the podium here this year. Marcus Armstrong, driver the number 11 Root Insurance, Chip Ganassi Racing Honda. His best finish of the season and first career podium. Previous best finish was a 5th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course Sanzio Grand Prix just a couple of races ago, back in the month of May, so a couple of weeks ago. Finishing 3rd on a 4-stopper. Who would have guessed? 4 stops, but just how proud are you to get that first podium of your career, Mark?
Yes, I'm very pleased. I mean, in my opinion, it's been a long time coming, even though this is my 2nd season, but yeah, it was a difficult one. Obviously, it was fairly chaotic, and I feel like being a strategist today was probably more stressful than being a driver. So I have to give a big shout out to my strategist Taylor Kyle for that one. He always placed me perfectly to maximize the situation we found. And ultimately on the last stint, I was having to achieve quite a big fuel number, as was Scott. But Scott does what Scott does, and I was sure he was going to make it to the end, but I actually ran out of fuel as I came across the line. So we timed it perfectly. Otherwise, I would have fought Marcus a little bit harder in the end, but it was necessary just sort of coast in and take the podium.
We'll open it up for questions. Microphones on either side. Let's start here in the front row, Nathan, and then Chris, and then we'll count our row here. Go ahead, Nathan.
First question for Marcus Ericsson. Marcus, you've been in weird, wacky, caution-filled races. Seen a lot of them at Nashville in the past. What do you make of these types of races, and what do you feel like leads to them oftentimes?
I think people are driving a bit reckless on these restarts, it's obviously opportunities on restarts, but I think, I don't know if we need to look at how we steward these kind of races, but I think today more than 50% behind yellow, and I'm sure it was dramatic and fun to watch, but at some point also it's we need to have a bit of a better standard, I think, as us. We're one of the best racing series in the world, and we shouldn't be driving on top of each other every single restart. So obviously I haven't seen the race, I was just driving it, but I saw in my mirrors every time on the restart it was like 4 or 5 wide in my mirrors, and I was just praying to not get hit pretty much every restart. So yeah, but yeah, I need to watch it before I comment more on that.
Just under 50%, by the way.
Okay.
So there you go.
There you go. Sorry.
Does it come down to more extreme penalties for avoidable contact in those situations? Is that one way? If it's something that's more than just a drive-through penalty, is that some way that you could maybe guys feel like it's not worth the risk as much to make a daring move there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe. I think I did watch the Indy 500, unfortunately, and that was pretty crazy as well. You know, I think we were lucky that it wasn't more incidents there because some of the driving there was also on the limit. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I don't know. Again, we're some of the best drivers in the world here racing, so we shouldn't be having incidents like today. But I think everyone, I've done my fair share as well. I do mistakes as well, so I'm not gonna put the finger on everyone else. I've done stuff myself as well, but I think us as a series we can definitely improve.
And one for Marcus Armstrong, just kind of on the same topic. What was your view of what seemed to us to be a very chaotic race out there on the track?
I have a question actually. Did Lundgaard get a penalty for the last crash that he caused with myself and everyone?
Yes.
He did?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
Okay.
avoidable, it's, stop.
Avoidable contact, you got rear of the field.
Okay. No, I mean, as well, it's very slippery. For whatever reason, the tires this season have been very, let's say, robust, and you can't really generate temperature. I think, even towards the end of the stint, it's not like they're in the right window. So I think a lot of the mistakes are also caused by the fact that the tire is not working early in the run, especially when they're cold. So I know I'd take some margin, but if you brake where you think you should brake, occasionally you just drive straight through someone. So I'm sure that's happened as well, and I'm sure that mistakes today were also not, by the intention of the driver trying to lunge everyone, but just because he didn't have the grip to stop. So I'd say that's one thing. But Marcus is right. I mean, a lot of the moves today were very ambitious, and on a circuit like this where the braking distances are quite long, I think that it's quite inviting, but yeah, perhaps it needs a bit of a rethink.
Stop and go, by the way. Let's go, Chris, on the line, good. Joe, through.
For two questions for both of you. Both of y'all had very early exits from the 500, and what was the process of trying to reset ahead of this race and then to come back with podiums for both of you after very early exits last week?
Yeah, I think for us, we went through, like I said, it was an extremely tough month of May, and we had to. I think we went through everything that month of May. I really felt like I probably aged like 5 years during that month. But like I said, for us, we just had to do a reset. We had to believe in what we're doing. It's that's you can either lie down and just feel sorry for yourself, or you get up and you work hard and you prepare yourself and you try and dig deep and go and deliver. And I think that's what we decided on the 28th group, that we were gonna go to Detroit and do a good weekend and get our season back on track. So that was a shot. We had a lot of work put in this week leading up to this race, and I'm happy it paid off.
I think Marcus nailed it on the head there. Very similar with us. For the 500, obviously it was completely new to me. I haven't done any oval racing before, so I had to do a massive amount of prep, let's say, study for lack of a better word, to be ready for that race, and we sort of concluded that if we can work that hard for the 500, we can work that hard for every race. And yesterday in qualifying we didn't show half our potential, unfortunately, but I'm happy that we did so today, and we can take some momentum to the next weekend.
And for both of you also, there's always pressure to win every race that you can, but this weekend, y'all were part of a Honda 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're literally sitting in General Motors' headquarters. So from the engine manufacturer perspective, how good is it for y'all to have that kind of performance this weekend at this track in this market?
It felt good to spoil the party for sure. I think Honda did a great job this weekend. We obviously had a tougher month of May than we would have liked as a manufacturer. So I know how hard they worked over at HRC, and like you said, 1, 2, 3, 4 couldn't be better for us.
And to add to that, I think Honda also takes over the manufacturing championship.
Perfect. Keep it going.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, just a quickie, for Marcus Erickson, did you think you had anything for Scott once you got around Marcus? I mean, those last couple of laps, you exhausted, I think you're pushed to pass, et cetera, but
Yeah.
what were your thoughts there?
I think with sort of 15 laps ago, when I was felt the car was really good, I had no fuel concerns, and I could push hard. Then I could see Scott and Marcus up the road. So I don't know. I mean, the tough thing is with Scott Dixon, he's the best ever in doing what he did today. Like saving the fuel and then having enough pace. So if there's someone that's hard to beat, that's him. So it was tough. Also Marcus here, put on a really good fight, and yeah, one more lap, who knows what would have happened, but yeah, I think he did a really good job, and we will have to take a P2 today. But we tried, we gave it everything.
Scott Dixon's on his way, so time for a couple more. Just two. Go ahead.
Is it still too early to get a gauge of whether this is a decent track or not? Because last year was a cleaner race than this year ended up being.
I mean, the track is, I don't know what word to use, but it's challenging. Let's put it that way. That's a nice way to put it. It's challenging. I think it creates some it has some great characteristics with the bumps, and the walls are close, and that is good. But it is very short and twisty for being in the cars. That's for sure. It's on the limit on what we can do. I wish we could have have a couple more corners and a little bit longer lap, but seems to create good drama like we saw last year and this year.
Marcus Armstrong.
I like the circuit, honestly. I liked it last year as well. I don't know why it's so low grip. I mean, turn 2 is sort of repaved, and also turn 3 this year was repaved, and the grip is considerably better. I mean, in an ideal world, they'd do that to the entire circuit, and it would probably create a lot cleaner racing, actually, because the low grip creates such a long braking distance. But the actual layout, I like it. It's fun over one lap, over a race distance. It's pretty touch and go with yellows, but I enjoy it.
They say the bumps and the concrete and everything is a full Michigan experience. So,
Forward of the day so far. Go ahead, Lewis.
Yeah, you have a new career in stand-up, Marcus. When the weather gets iffy, could you override, over the wet tires?
Yeah, it was tough. If this race didn't have everything, then we got the rain as well. So it was definitely touch and go there. We were debating on the radio what to do, and I said at one point it's 50-50, and then I think we should stay out. But that's like communication between the team and driver. So I think the team was really good there, and then did the right decisions. But yeah, I felt like we should stay out because I was hoping it would blow over. But it was definitely tough, those first restarts there in the wet with slicks. It was actually good. It was some more cautions then, because then there was a few laps to let the track dry for us on slicks.
We'll let both you guys go. Congratulations on a podium finish here in Detroit.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
everyone.
Appreciate it. Marcus Armstrong, Marcus Erickson, Scott Dixon. Clean cue for those of you joining us.
I don't know about that. Got lucky.
Scott Dixon led a race high 35 of the 100 laps, driving course the number 9 PNC Bank Chip Ganassi Racing Honda with the second win of the season, both on street courses, street circuits. Fourth win here in the Detroit Grand Prix. That is now 58 career wins, and counting 9 shy of the great AJ Foyt. Going into this, did you see something like this kind of playing out this afternoon?
I think, having been in this race last year and then several Detroits before, I think anything's on the table, no matter where you start on the grid. So it was definitely action-packed today, and I think just so many ups and downs. It's a bit of a roller coaster. Obviously, for us, we took a pretty wild strategy to, pit, I don't even know how many laps, almost 40 laps from the end, but I said at the lap 50 caution, I think it was, that we could make it from that point. So just with the cautions that we had. But yeah, you know, most of the race was just, you know, restarts, looking in the rearview mirror in turn 3 and making sure that there wasn't anybody coming down that was going to take out the whole, you know, the whole load of you. But yeah, it's a wild race, wet conditions. Conditions were very tough. We saw tires going off that we didn't think were going to. So yeah, it was all to play for, and definitely pretty wild and pretty you know, full on at many of the times out there.
And Scott also takes over the ATT IndyCar Series point standings, now 18 better than his teammate and Alex below. Let's go ahead and go the reverse order here, Bruce. Or Joey. Go ahead.
9 cautions, 47 laps.
8 cautions.
8 cautions, I'm sorry. And, you know, it was like, we get going, crash in turn 3, get going, crash in turn 5. It was just constant restarts. Where's the line on it being action-packed versus maybe embarrassing for the sport?
I don't think it's ever embarrassing. You know, I think if you did a survey, most people go to races to watch crashes. So I don't, but you know, I know when I watch some kind of NASCAR race, you know, they have similar kind of effect, and it's pretty exciting. Obviously, you don't want to see the caution laps and them ticking over, but from my perspective, it was pretty calm up front. You know, the start got a little bit wild with a couple of, you know, with the 6 and the 27, I think it was at some point. And then when I was at the back, actually, it was pretty calm. You know, I was around the 14, and he likes to get it pretty wild here and there. But he was, you know, he must have used it all up at some point. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see a lot of it. You know, obviously, once I watched the race back and see what happened. But, you know, you're in confined streets here. It's really tough, man. You make any kind of mistake. I would say with, you know, Firestone, obviously, I think anticipating the hybrid, you know, the tyre was pretty hard here. Very hard to turn the black tyre on, especially the front tyres, makes it very easy to lock. So, you know, colder conditions today, especially from what we had last year. So that probably definitely played a factor as well.
And then after what happened in Indy where Chevrolet ended up getting everybody in the Fast 6, for Honda to rebound a week later, get top 4 in Chevy's backyard, I mean, how satisfying is this for Honda?
Yeah, it's weird. It happens like that sometimes. You know, Honda's not going to lay down. They're getting after. Obviously, we saw what you know, the other manufacturer had at the 500. They were packing some heat, man, and we saw that even in the first practice here today. When you look at top line speeds and you know, they've got a lot of power right now. So, you know, drivability is always fantastic with Honda. Obviously, you know, drivability and fuel mileage plays a big factor, especially in these street courses and how bumpy they are. So, you know, I think they've still got the upper hand there.
Yeah. Scott, after the race, I had a couple of people in the pit say, you know, that was another classic vintage Scott Dixon win. And I'm just wondering, how would you define a classic vintage Scott Dixon win? Because you've kind of won every which way you can, right? Is it get to the front and stay there? How would you define it?
You know, I think some of today is a little bit of luck, right? You know, I think Long Beach, you know, we took an aggressive approach, and you know, if we were lucky, we would have had some caution, but we had to, you know, do it the very difficult way of having no caution. Today it kind of played our way a little bit, but still very tight. You know, there were many people on our strategy, and they couldn't make it. You know, Herder definitely made it difficult for us there. You know, we knew they were going to be 2 or 3 laps short, but they kind of threw the Hail Mary of you know, trying to get that lap back, and had to push on him. Obviously, the cars from behind were starting to encroach on us. So, yeah, I don't know. You know, I think for us as a team, you know, we just try to cover all bases, man. So, you know, I don't think there's a style or a classic way of winning, man. And honestly, you just take any win you can get.
Alex Below finished 16th. Is his first result outside the top 10 since like 2022. With you now having the championship lead over him, the margins are very, very tight for points. Does that give you a little bit extra, you know, as we get to the summer stretch with Road America, Laguna, everything else, or is it still just, you know, pretend like you don't have the lead and just drive after him like always?
Yeah, some of the key players, obviously, you know, it's not good to see a teammate have a bad day. You know, Alex had issues right from the start of the fight with burning the rears off the car. I haven't, you know, spoken to him yet. And then once you kind of get back in that melee there, it can be, you know, it can go one way or the other. And obviously he got collected and you know, in those situations. But if you look at, you know, a couple of the Penske cars, you know, heard a lot of guys that you know you're going to be racing for the championship had a pretty rough day today. So we'll see how it goes, man. It swings and roundabouts, and the same thing can happen, next week at Road America. So we'll just keep our head down and keep trying to get the most that we can out of it.
We'll go Jack and then Steve after that. Go ahead, Jack.
Scott, whose call was it not bidding for rain tires? And how difficult was it on the slicks wet condition?
I don't know yet. They kept asking me, and I was like, "Hey, if we're going to be under caution for another lap or two, I think we're going to be fine." But it was weird. Like it would rain in 2, and then it would rain in 3, and then it was getting very wet, kind of 7 through 8, and then the front straight got really wet. So it was kind of moving a lot. And you didn't really know, what lap was going to bring you. But I think with some of the temperature and the pavement and it being somewhat of a light shower, it did get very wet out there at one point. I was like, this is going to be really rough, really rough. But luckily that caution ran on a little bit longer, and once we went back to green, it was fine. But I just kept asking, like, do you see more rain coming? Because if that's it, we're fine. And, obviously we stayed out.
Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Scott, congratulations.
Thanks.
What did it feel like when the green tires went off? Because it wasn't necessarily expected, or did you guys know after warm-up this morning that they were going to be an issue?
Definitely not expected. We had obviously the Friday set of tires on some cars that went well into the 20s, but it's weird. It can be, there's a lot of wheel spin at this place. We tried to counteract and driving the car and stopping the wheel spin. But it was weird today because like the first stint I wanted to wheel spin the car more, which generates temperature and hopefully, soaks the tire and you get some thermal heat, but it just wasn't doing that. So I think it was actually just wearing the tire out. So kind of 10 laps into the first stint, I just started really easing off on applying the throttle. I don't know what happened to Alex. It just looked like he had no rears left, but definitely unexpected. That is supposedly the black tire from last year, which was the tire to run on. But it looked like it caved pretty hard, man.
Thanks.
Let's go next door to Lewis here. Maybe time for 1 or 2 more after that. Go ahead, Lewis.
I was watching you the timing and scoring monitor in the last part of the race until you got up to Colton. You were running steady 104.1s. Is that the secret to fuel saving? And if you answer, will your bike have to kill me?
It's Colton made it definitely more difficult because the way that I might save fuel is going to be different to him. So he was getting me very out of sync, and you need free and clean air. Because you want a very positive front, and he definitely made it difficult for me. That's why I made the lunge on him, because I'm like, we know he's not going to go to the end. They were just throwing a Hail Mary to try and get their lap back and work it out. But it was a bit frustrating there. When you're fighting, I'm watching obviously on my dash, the gap behind, and Marcus was doing a great job and getting the number, and obviously great speed. And when he got, kind of within a second, I'm like, all right, we need to go here. So it was a little tighter than I thought it was going to be on fuel, because I was getting some pretty big numbers and thought it was going to be pretty easy. So maybe the fuel error was off a little bit. Got the blue light with 2 to go, and I'm like, ooh, that's not good. But we were totally fine.
Time for 2 quick ones. Oh, sorry, I lost track of the mic. Where's the mic? Here in the end. Thank you. And then we'll go over here and wrap things up. Go ahead.
Okay, so on the flip side of Honda's dominance here in Detroit, we have you heading into Cadillac for Le Mans in just a couple of weeks. What does it mean for you to get a win in Detroit and then go and represent Cadillac there?
Yeah, it was cool to see Jim Campbell hand me the trophy today. Obviously, they don't want to do that, but it's hard. Obviously, with the IMSA race here this weekend too, I was on the stand and trying to support my teammates that I'll go to Le Mans with. But yeah, I think what's very cool is that, both manufacturers that you cross over. I know it's not an easy thing. It's difficult for them to do it. Probably more so for Honda, just because that's my real job and day job is IndyCar racing, and I get to have some fun for 4 or 5 times a year, and with Cadillac. So looking forward to it. Obviously they have a great program. What Le Mans brings for us this year, who knows. But yeah, I said to Jim, I was like, hopefully it didn't make him angry, and I'll see him in a week or so.
One more question.
This is your 4th win here in Detroit. How does it feel winning on the downtown course versus your previous wins over on Belle Isle?
Any win feels awesome, man. I would say there's no fountain to jump into, which is definitely a bit different. Some people rode the lions and that kind of stuff, but that was put to stop. after Hanare, I think. But yeah, it's cool, man. You know, if it's a new venue, and obviously this is kind of going back, you know, to historic years of Detroit Downtown City Race, and you know, got to say a huge thanks to all the fans. It was kind of cool to, you know, do the parade lap and look up, and on top of all these buildings, man, it was just lined with people. It was pretty fantastic, and that's difficult, especially when it's you know, a race where it looks like there's going to be a lot of rain. So you know, any win is special, but you know, it's kind of cool to win in two different places.
Congratulations. We've got a couple more things for you before we take off, but congratulations
Thank you.
on win number 58 and counting for Scott
Thank you.
Dixon. Thanks, everyone. Quick reminder that Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear Race